Welcome back to the Draft and the Stash, your one-stop shop for NBA and Memphis Grizzlies news. Since it's Monday, you know what that means. It's all about the Grizzlies, Memphis Mondays. On today's episode, the season's finally over, and we're breaking it down from our favorite moments, our favorite plays, how the season overall was. Before we can get into any of that, though, we got to do this.
Morant with a running start. Oh my goodness!
All right, the Grizzlies season finally wrapped up, losing to the Jazz in a gentleman's sweep of 5, even though a couple of those games could have gone other ways. But I've honestly never seen a team shoot the ball as well as the Jazz did, where it just made it look like the Grizzlies were not playing defense. They bow out, but I feel it was great experience. And Dylan Brooks, if this is who he's going to be, I mean, obviously he's not going to score 27 a game, but if this is like the next level of him or his like final form, then I think he can be your future wing. As the season ends, do you find this a success or failure of a year?
Oh, success all the way, man.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond our wildest expectations, I think starting out the year. After making the play-in last year, I think everybody expected a little bit of a regression. Coming back with a similar roster. Seemed like everybody else in the West kind of loaded up. And, they snuck in there at the end. We beat the Spurs and Warriors back-to-back to make it into the playoffs. You know, we had a valiant effort against the Jazz. It was only a 5-game series. We won the first. Donovan Mitchell came back and kind of made it, closed it out against us.
Dude, and it's crazy. If Donovan does not come back, they do not beat the Grizzlies. Like, in that first game, you're just watching, and they were younger, more explosive, more athletic, and the Jazz did not have a scoring threat able to consistently dice up the Grizzlies. And Donovan gave them specifically that, where he came in and he averaged like 28 and a half a game against us, Weber, which sounds bad, but the Clippers are giving up 42 a game to him. So
he was really the missing piece there. It was, the scoring was really the key there, because then it opened up the floor for everybody else. They got their 3-point shooting going again like they had in the regular season. And I think now they've got 7 games in a row of 17 or more threes dating back to our series. So, they're torching it right now. I think the Grizzlies had a valiant effort against them again. And, we saw some good things out of some young players, John Moran especially. Yeah. Dylan Brooks looked great. So there's a lot of good things to take out of the playoffs. But more on the season as a whole, I think making it to the playoffs was a really great end to a sort of up and down at times season. But on the whole, it was, again, kind of beyond our wildest expectations. I think having Ja sort of settle into his floor general role a little bit more, kind of develop more NBA sense, that was nice. Seeing Dylan take that step that we sort of hoped he would take, coming into the season, where he just toned down the shot selection a little bit, became a more reliable and solid playmaker.
I think in the playoffs, though, I mean, he was his best form to date or whatever in the playoffs. And you could honestly say that Ja and Dylan outplayed Conley and Donovan. It was just the other guys like Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson, Rudy Gobert. Those guys won all of their matchups, and we just couldn't overcome that.
Yeah, and then just thinking about the roster and sort of the ups and downs it went through. Obviously, we had an injury-addled season. We had Morant for most of the season. He went down with that ankle injury early, but everybody else, it sort of felt like a rotating roster selection from night to night. And I think we'll get more into grades and everything, but I think Jenkins did a good job managing sort of the rotating chair of players he had at his disposal. So
we'll get into that.
I know you're not a fan of his long, like 11-man rotation. Yeah, I'm not. But I think considering the hand he was dealt, I think he did a pretty good job.
I will say, if I was grading this season on a letter grade, I'd give us an A. The only way it could have been an A+ is if they beat the Jazz. I mean, like,
I think at that point you got to give him. Yeah, that's like a 100 out of 100. If you
that's what I'm saying.
manage to do a 1-8 upset, like
This is definitely an A. They were the third youngest team. They were, I think, the sixth most injured team. Their schedule was unbelievably brutal, and they somehow still put it all together. And then tried to reintegrate Jaren Jackson late. And he really didn't start to hit his. It was funny because like in the Jazz series, he literally got better every game. So like he started off kind of like average, type below average, and then he just got better and better and better and better or whatever until it got to the end. But you just ran out of runway. Let's move on.
Very well, yeah.
Let's move on to grading the team. Is there any players that you think deserve an A?
I got to give Ja an A. You know, maybe I would have given him a B, maybe a B plus.
Yeah, I would say that the playoffs definitely leave a good taste in your mouth because he'd had a very up and down season. It was a good season, but it was people were expecting him to jump to that all-star status, and instead he just like took like a minor step forward and not a big step. But the playoffs, he looked like he's a top 50 player now, and he can like lead your team or whatever. I mean, it was incredible. He did a 360 dunk in a playoff game.
25%, but I'm glad that he hit that. You got to get the score here. It's showtime, a 360 by John.
I mean, like it was just for fun, you know. It's great. So,
and he had that reverse alley-oop finish as well. He's an incredible finisher, man. It's unbelievable.
The only other maybe A might be Desmond Bane. Him being pick 30, the expectations were kind of low. And I think he fought his way into the rotation. And
that's what I was going to say is he kind of had to fight his way past a few guys to get there.
Proven also he's not just a shooter. I think he's a pretty damn good rebounder. Yeah. He's always down there, you know, fighting and everything. Apparently he is next to Dylan Brooks in the film room all the time. So, and he's not the biggest guy, but he's strong. So he doesn't get posted a lot. And then his shot, a lot of guys take a lot of time to get their jump shot going early, but his was good from day one. And so I literally don't expect him to ever have a season under 40% from three. And he almost has the rookie record all time, whatever. So Bane is a close A for me as well.
Yeah, I would say he's an arguable A for sure. Other than that, I don't know if I would want to give anybody else an A.
I don't know. I mean, like you could argue Tillman's like a B plus, maybe.
Yeah, Tillman had a great season as well.
He really played like and stepped up here and there. He played well for Jonas and Jaren and Brandon Clark. You know, when they hurt, I'd say that like Brandon's probably a C plus this year, coming off of like almost A. You know,
he's passing. He gets a passing grade, but that's about it.
Yeah, it was not a great year for him. Grayson Allen's another one that I think is like a C plus. I think Melton is right, borderline B maybe. He had that stretch I think in like February where he shot like 46% from three, and he's playing great defense. And then he got hurt, and then he kind of took a while to get going again. And in the playoffs, he literally had one good quarter. So he kind of faltered again down the stretch like he did last year. So he's going to have to find a way to be more consistent if he's going to be like our sixth man of the year, Jordan Clarkson type here. What are your views on Jonas?
I'm a Jonas fan, man. I like him a lot. I think what he does is sort of a unique thing. He's sort of a unique talent in today's NBA. I mean, he's a rebounding monster. He gets 20 rebound games like it's nothing. I think he set the double-double record for our franchise this year, passing Zebo. I'd have to check on that, but I think
that sounds right.
Yeah, and I don't know. He's just a really talented scorer under the basket, but we know his faults, man. We've talked about it before repeatedly. He just gets completely toasted on pick and roll defense. He drops back too far, leaving shooters open, drops back too far, leaving his man open sometimes. He'll play up too far sometimes. He's got kind of slow feet on that end.
He's just not a good pick and roll defender at all because he doesn't know the proper distance, and then he's so slow he can't catch up. So what happens is he gets caught in no man's land. He lets his guy roll to a certain degree, and then the guy in front of him coming at him is almost always open for like a floater or something, or that they just hop over like and hit a three or something or whatever.
We saw that after play in the Utah series. Unfortunately, it kind of exposed Jonas on that end. But I think that's sort of the point with Jonas. I think that's why Toronto was willing to give him up, the talent he is. he's amazing offensively. He can win you games on that end. He does a lot of great things for your team, but he has a lot of weaknesses defensively, and ultimately that might kind of cancel out what he does offensively on some nights. And against great teams like Utah who can shoot the ball, he's a liability.
He's just almost 30 years old at this point. I think his best role might be coming off the bench as like a big weight bruiser who just comes in like and beats people up in the paint.
And I just don't know if you can get him in that role is the problem.
Yeah, I don't know either. So it's very weird with them. It's very up in the air. I don't know if they'll bring him back or not. I mean, I'm leaning towards probably because at this point, him and Jaren have only played together, I think, like 72 games in like 3 years.
He's a fan favorite, and as much as we're talking negatively about Jonas here, I mean, he's a winning player. I think more often than not, he will contribute to your success, and I think he is a big part of the success of the past couple seasons. But we're thinking about the future here, and I don't know, like, if he's the guy we want to pair with Ja as his center moving forward. You know what I mean? I just don't think he has that defensive ceiling that we need to really propel us far into the playoffs. So
I'd
give him a solid B. I don't know. Maybe he had a really good season.
He had a lot of like really big games. It's hard to like really drop him below a B. What do you think about Justice Winslow, the person that we traded Jay Crowder for? And Jay Crowder has been the best person or player in that deal so far for both for Miami and for Phoenix now. I mean, like, you know, he's shooting like, it's so funny because when he was here, he shot like 28%. And it was like, oh my God, no, he's this high volume bad shooter. And then as soon as he goes somewhere else, he shot like almost 40% for Miami. And then this year he shot like 39% for the Suns on like 6 attempts a game. I'm just like, why couldn't he do that for us? He would still be here. Him and Dylan Brooks, because like he was this great locker room guy as well. He's tough. Fans liked him here. Him and Brooks were mean as hell on the wings. That's okay because we got Justice Winslow who,
I mean, that trade. Now in hindsight, you just got to kind of chalk it up. Man. Like it's just kind of a nothing trade for us. I really don't see us extending or using that option on Winslow. It's like 11 million or something like that. A lot
of the local pundits here really think that they have no choice but to bring him back.
I completely disagree with that.
I'm more in the mindset of let him walk, keep that money, and you could absorb a big contract maybe for like a pick or something.
I mean, like, what kind of momentum does he have going in his favor for a contract somewhere else? Like, if he wants to go sign somewhere else for $1 million or $2 million, like, that's no skin off our back. What did he do for our team this season? You know, I like Justice. I think he's still got some promise. I think he could
25
fit in
now, right?
somewhere.
I don't know. It's like I guess maybe the hope would be that he's still young. If he's healthy going into training camp, he can integrate himself how he was supposed to be. Because like, you know, coming off of like that hip injury,
I want to give him a season. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, for me, this is like a C- year or so.
The real problem with it is that we became too good to keep trying to play him. He became a liability in a playoff run when we were trying to get proper seeding. And it's like, you know, he was coming along. He had his moments. He had flashes, but it's when it was winning time, he couldn't be out on the floor. And we had guys that could be in place of him. So we did that. And I mean, if they bring him back next year, I'm sure they'll play him more. They'll try to see what they've gotten him. But if Zach Kleiman is as smart as I think he is, I just really do not see him extending him for like 11 or 12 million or whatever it is.
Speaking of guys that were not that should have been in the rotation, Grayson Allen, just like analytically and with your eyeballs, was not as good as Melton or as Bane. And Taylor
did like 3 threes every first quarter he was in the game. So
weird. It's like Jenkins, I think, thought that because Grayson is known as the better shooter and he's older than Bane, that he should be playing over him. But it was just like Bane shot, I think, like 7 of 11, like in the playoffs. I mean, like, you know, it was just like nothing was in his favor except in that one game, I think, whatever, where he hit like, you know, five threes in game 3 or something or whatever.
He was clutching the Warriors game.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like he's too small, he's too slow.
Yeah.
He can't move well laterally. He sucks on defense. Like if he's not hitting 5 threes a game, he has almost no value. I pray that they move him so that Jenkins does not play him anymore because Bane looks to be a legit could be starter in this league. He could maybe be like one of the best shooters in the league. He could be a killer. I would much rather him get moved up and toss Brooks to take the 3 or something or whatever.
I think at least get him out of the way in the rotation. Bay needs to at least be getting the most minutes coming off the bench starting next season. I
definitely.
Think.
He's just good, man. I don't know. I mean, because it started off, he wasn't really playmaking, and then by the end, he was doing like really awesome, like driving dishes and stuff and kicks.
That's what he did at TCU. So he sort of kind of brought some of that talent from college into his NBA game, which at the start of the season, you could see that he was kind of a little hesitant and he was getting beat defensively, but then he adapted, man. That's why I was so impressed. It started,
and it was almost like he was testing how well his length worked in the paint. And so he would drive and like lay it up. And early on he got blocked, but then towards like the end of the year, he understood the better ball placement and stuff and speed and everything or whatever.
He started using his frame more too.
Yeah. So like, he's a smart guy, awesome player, really good dude off the court also. So I would love for him to, if you don't trade for anybody or in the draft, you don't get a guy, I would love for him to have a chance next year. Moving on from the players, let's talk about the front office and the coaches. Where do you grade Taylor Jenkins?
I got to give Taylor a B after this season. I think he did a very solid job through some, we said it earlier, through some real trials and tribulations regarding the roster and the injuries. I don't know. I think at times we kind of shook our heads at some of his decisions regarding the rotation, maybe some of his non-coaches challenges that he did. He sort of came around to it late in the season, but then didn't use it in the biggest moment against the Warriors.
He got like,
I don't know. We talked about that all season, but
yeah.
I think he did an admirable job as a second-year head coach. He's just as young as all these other players, relatively speaking. He's one of the youngest coaches in the NBA. He's inexperienced in that regard. Really, he's only ever coached for the G League and as an assistant in the NBA. So having the reins on his own, NBA caliber team, I think he's doing a good job. I think he seems to manage the personalities well. I mean, there's no talks of players, any friction with the coach. I think he handles that side of it well. They seem to like him. He definitely seems to breed a culture and locker room chemistry that benefits our team. That kind of goes hand in hand with how the roster is constructed by Zach Kleiman and the rest of the front office. But I just, he seems like a solid X's and O's guy that is kind of learning the ropes as a head coach. He's got plenty of credentials coming from the Budenholzer coaching tree, which is like, the standard these days. But I think he gets a solid B, man. What about you?
I was kind of shocked. I didn't realize that him and Quinn Snyder came from like the same cloth and everything or whatever.
Yeah, they were both assistants under Bud.
Yeah, I think it's so annoying because Jenkins will do some things that I think are very impressive. I think his whiteboard skills are great. His play calling out of timeouts is really great. And his game management is pretty good. But there's some holes there where I don't think he grades talent correctly, and he doesn't understand proper personality fits, I guess, because like there's no reason that you could point to 30 pages of just like certain like points of data and be like, well, actually, when these four guys play together, it's this good, and you're playing these guys who are actually the worst lineup, and it's just like I don't understand why there's not somebody there on his coaching staff to be like, hey, you're much better when you play Jaren, Ja, Bane, and this. And it was just like he would purposely go like against the grain because he got so stuck on playing the whole 10-man rotation at the very beginning of the year that when we got to the end, he forced himself to just keep doing that. And I think it was kind of a detriment in the playoffs. And eventually he let Ja play 42 minutes a game in the playoffs. And that was the best choice. I don't know. Hopefully he's young. He's going to look back on this year and hopefully he's annoyed and he can fix his shortcomings. I agree. Like a B is good though.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to go any lower than that. I think he does a pretty good job for a second year.
What do you think about Zach Kleiman, the young, cool, hip GM?
Well, there wasn't a lot done this season to grade him off of necessarily, but we can kind of grade him off of what he did before the season.
He drafted Desmond Bane. He drafted Tillman. Let's see here. Is that it? Shit.
Yeah, I think it was basically the draft that we haven't really extended anybody or signed anybody. So
he he re-signed Melton.
That's true. You're right about
he
that.
He signed John Conchar to like a $2 million a year deal for like 3 years or something. That was really good. He let Yuta Watanabe walk, which I was okay with, but Watanabe definitely looks better than Jonte Porter, who it looks like he's the one that like took his spot or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't think either of them would be cracking our rotation.
No, I agree. I mean, like Yuta's not better than Desmond. He's not better than Grayson Allen. You know, or like Justice Winslow. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a solid B year. I think this season is going to be the one that like really, really matters. He's going to have cap space. He's going to have a first-round draft pick that's not in the top 5. So we'll see how their board lines up for the draft coming up next month.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a B for Zach Kleiman as well. I think he nailed the draft, absolutely nailed it. And there's reports that him and Taylor Jenkins are really tight in regards to the draft, which I love. They seem to be on the same page with how they're going to be building out the roster in the future, which bodes well because that just means we're building everything from the ground up. Everybody's in lockstep with each other. Which
that means that like Jenkins wants more Grayson Allens. He's just like even more short white guys. I can't wait.
Yeah, more all the big Duke guys. We're gonna draft every Duke player that comes our way.
Jalen Johnson, pick 17, book it. There it is.
But he did a great job with the draft. I think re-signing Melton was smart, or extending Conchar is smart. He's a great into the bench guy.
Because Conchar's. I honestly think Conchar can play. And once you get down to you're paying Jaren $26 million a year, paying Ja $26 million a year, you're going to need to have 4 or 5 guys that are getting paid under $4 million. Yeah. So that, and to be able to find some that have actual talent, it's just great. I love what I would rather have John Conchar on $2 million than Kyle Kuzma on $13 million. Anything else about the season before we call it a wrap, Frank?
Man, I just want to say it was an awesome season. I enjoyed making these videos throughout the season. We'll keep rolling into the off season, into the next one.
Yeah, guys, be on the lookout. The draft lottery is in a few weeks. We're doing a live watch of that. We'll then give you our round, our mock draft 2.0 with both rounds, bringing back Chip, except this time we'll be team specific. So it won't be just boom, boom, boom. We'll each have our own teams. It'll be a lot of fun. And as always, let's go Grizz.
Let's go Grizz.